Welcome to the Journey podcast, where we showcase some of the most inspiring stories on the planet. I am your host, Josh Valentine, and I'm really excited for our guest today. We have the one and only, my brother, Cuir, with us. Appreciate you being on.
Thank you. Thank you for having
And absolutely, absolutely. And we're really excited because Cuir is someone that I had met when I actually moved out here to Tampa Bay. And he was one of the first brothers that I actually got to hear his story and what he's about, and very, very inspiring. And I love the fact that you also are from my stomping grounds up in New York
Yes, yes,
and
yes,
came out here before the wave pretty much came around. And
yes,
you were one of the first people to come out here and just really make a name for yourself, especially as it pertains to the real estate business.
yes.
And I know you guys are going to get a lot of value from Cuir and his backstory and everything like that, and also how he went about building his business. So let's get started, bro.
All right, sounds
I
good.
would love to hear a little bit about just, yeah, take us back. New York, right? Maybe what your upbringing was. What was Cuir like at 10 years old? Like, what was the situation? Was it like two-parent household? Did you grow up in the burbs of Queens or Staten Island? Like, what was that situation like?
So my family was a very interesting dynamic, right? So I grew up in New York City as a young kid, little trouble, but I seen two sides of the fence really. So my mother, single family household, it was just me and her at the time before my stepfather. So typical situation, she had multiple jobs.
Mm,
I would sometimes stay home by myself and had a lot of free time. So I would get into trouble. Usually
yeah.
that's what happens when you leave kids unsupervised. But on the weekends, I was able to go to my grandmother's house. My
Mm,
grandmother lived in New Jersey.
nice.
So my grandmother and my cousins on my father's side, they had, well, I want to say my cousins, their parents had businesses.
Mm,
So during the week, small apartment, New York City, lower end Section 8.
mhm.
On the weekends, I would see big
Wow. Yeah,
houses,
yeah, yeah.
my cousins, they had nice cars.
Nice, nice.
So kind of growing up, I knew as I got older, I'm like, oh man, I kind of want to live like my cousins
I love it.
and possibly start a business.
Nice.
But I didn't know exactly what business I was going to start. So I figured I would go to school for something like computer science.
Mhm.
And once I start making money, maybe something will come to me.
Of course.
So that's pretty much it. I went to military school for a little
Oh,
bit.
nice, nice.
Went to military school. So I got some structure there. And from military school, went to um a university, University of Maryland Eastern Shore for computer science. And from that university,
Mhm.
my mother put me in internships. I had internships,
Wow.
and I started working for a brokerage firm called DTCC
Mm,
here in Tampa.
wow.
So that's originally how I came to Tampa.
Wow.
So
Okay.
my mother, she was big on having internships, making sure you have a good,
It's amazing.
have a good job lined up out of college. And that's pretty much, and it was actually an accident
Mhm.
how I came to Tampa because originally I was supposed to go to Texas.
Oh, wow.
So
What part of Texas?
I believe it was either Dallas
Mm,
or Austin.
okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but they hired so many people out of college at the same time. It was
Got it.
kind of one of those mix ups.
Yeah, yeah.
So as I was doing my orientation, they're like, hold up, you're supposed to be in Texas.
Okay.
But by then, my grandparents are out here.
Mhm. Now, I know you mentioned growing up in a single parent household. Were you the only child?
No, so I'm 8 years older than my sister,
Okay.
right? So we have the same mother, and also my brother. We're the same age, but he's a month older than me.
Okay.
So my father, he had us around the same time, but he was in a different household.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
So my mother and my stepfather, they were on and off,
Mhm, mhm.
and then he had a daughter.
Okay.
So it was one of those type of situations, on and off. Just a lot of drama going on,
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of stuff that would want me to be outside the house.
Mhm. Got
outside
it.
the household and
Yeah.
just
Yeah, definitely. Now I know in New York is like real common for, us young brothers to grow up in either a single parent household or with the step parent, in the equation. Maybe some people have gone through a bunch of different step parents. I personally didn't have like my pops in my life at all, like my biological father, but I did have a stepfather, which made a big difference. What was your relationship with with your pops, like your biological father?
well, my biological father, he was incarcerated.
Mm,
So I believe the only thing I kind of remember from him from the beginning was, um, he used to have cars, nice cars and stuff. I was probably maybe like 3 or 4. I remember him putting me on his lap with this
mm.
red fancy
You
car.
still remember that?
Yeah,
Wow.
I remember he had this new car. Boom. Next thing you know it, I'm
Mm,
seeing him behind bars,
wow.
for whatever activities he was into.
Mhm,
And when he came out, I want to say came out around, he came out actually around 14, 15.
mm.
But I didn't really start seeing him until I was about 16, me and my brother,
Wow.
because I guess the time he spent there kind of had his mind, he
Of course, of course.
developed, schizophrenia. I don't know if you could
Mm.
develop it or if it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
something he
Yeah,
had, a
yeah.
precondition, or
Of
maybe
course.
it stimulated that
Yeah, yeah.
him being away. So that was interesting. So we kind of started, me and my brother started seeing our father around 16,
Mm.
different like halfway house.
Yeah.
And then he never really, like, if you talk to him, he'll talk to you like it's regular, like, hey, how's the weather? How's the weather?
Mhm, mhm.
But then, he might go off the rails, like he might be stuck in like the 80s or something.
Yep, yep.
Hey, can you get me a cassette player?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so
yeah. Jail
so
will do
so
that to you. Absolutely.
so that's him.
Yeah, I can relate to that, man. I remember I had actually went to seek my pops when probably around 19, 20 years old.
Okay.
And I wanted to build a relationship, He didn't come for me. And the crazy thing I always share on the podcast, he lived within 2 miles of me my entire life. And
Oh,
I had
wow.
never seen him. And he did some time or whatever, and he was in the drug game. And I can relate to the whole just paranoia, schizophrenia, because I remember going to spend some time with him and he'd always be by the blinds just looking to see if anybody and
Yes.
just what's going on outside every like 30 seconds, and he's just pacing around the crib like just constantly looking. So I can definitely relate to that. And what was that like for you, just making that introduction to your pops? Like, was it he came home and you went to visit him? Like,
S-
did you visit him through in jail over the years?
So the crazy thing is, my mother, she was a social worker, right? So when my father came out and he went to a halfway house, my mother would sometimes bring me to work with her, right? I would visit my mother at work. And then one day she was like, yo, I just seen your father was transferred to this
Oh,
halfway
wow.
house facility. And that's kind of, I was like, oh crap. And I seen him.
Wow.
And it was interesting. So it's crazy. I remember New York. New York has actually had a big issue with this, because at the time, if you were in a program, let's say probably still not like halfway house or something,
Mhm.
they will put you in like these nice apartments
Mhm.
in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So the regular, like, average hardworking person, like, hey, how are these people getting
Yep.
all these
Yep.
subsidies
Yeah.
living in Manhattan?
Yeah.
So I would see him in Manhattan at this nice apartment, and he would have the mirror in his hand, like looking behind the mirror,
Oh, wow.
looking into the mirror, and then so at first, me and my brother, I mean, we was kind of I mean, looking back at it, we kind of used to joke about it, like, oh,
Mhm.
our father's bugging out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that's kind of how we responded to it, like, oh, he's wilding.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just something we came accustomed to, and then over the years now, it's just like a normal thing now to us.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, he'll talk to us, he'll talk regular, and then next thing you know it,
Of
he's
course. Yeah.
off the rails.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I mean, and there's so many things that obviously lead to brothers getting like that. Like, I mean, you think about all the things that they saw back in the 80s, New York,
Yeah.
right? Back in the 80s, early 90s, it was just crazy for your average person, especially if you were out in the streets. And it's amazing to see how, this trauma, you know what I'm saying, affects these brothers long term, and their ability to just kind of navigate through life. And that's really one of the things that I wanted to make this podcast about, was just talking about systemic issues, right? Like things that we see, growing up where we come from and what we actually deal with. And I wanted to ask you, this came to mind, when it came to just having your pops absent, right? Like 9, 10, 11, 12, like a lot of these critical years that develop your manhood and who you are as a man. Do you feel like that had any effect in terms of like who you ended up becoming, or did you have like a chip on your shoulder?
Well, well, what I did realize, the dynamic that my stepfather had with my mother, it wasn't the healthiest dynamic. I did see my mom, my mother struggle. So in that case, that kind of shaped me a little bit, as far as I said, when I get older, I don't want to have to struggle. Or a if I get with a woman, I don't want us to have to worry about money.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna make sure, whatever I got going on, it's not dependent on um what the person my partner has going on. So I already said, that was kind of in me from day one. Two, I used to, this is crazy. I used to be like, oh, I don't want to, I used to be like, oh, when I get older, I don't want to date a angry black woman.
mm,
Right. So I was young and naive.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And why? Because I was like, oh, my mom, she's always angry. They always fighting. They always arguing. And I'm like, you know, but when I got older, I realized why my mother was
Of
always
course,
mad and
of
angry,
course.
because,
Yep,
she had a man in the house. He wasn't really helping out that much. But it's two sides of the stories,
of course.
so I guess he could have did more.
Yep,
Um, she could have demanded more from him.
yeah.
And, you know, bills, stress. So when I got old, I was like, okay, that's probably why my mom was always mad all the time.
And
So,
it's a lot.
it,
Yeah.
it kind of it kind of reframed my mind.
Mm,
I want to say my early 20s,
mm.
when I started working and dating, and I kind of got back to my roots, and just how I used to think
Mm,
growing up versus how the reality
yeah.
is, being an adult.
Yeah, yeah. No, that
So
makes a lot of sense. One of the things that I really stress more than anything on this podcast, because I never want people's parents to feel guilty, right? Like we
yeah,
tell these stories of our parents and some of their shortcomings, and the biggest thing for me is making sure that none of these parents are watching this like, wow, I did a terrible job. Is more so to raise the awareness around, well, why was your mom an angry black woman? Right? Like why did she respond the way that she responded? And it's so important to emphasize that, because a lot of people watching, they may say like, wow, it's crazy that, he may have had to grow up in that environment, but it's like that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure for a woman dealing with some kids and having a man in the household that's there and not providing the way that he can. But why? Right? Like why can't he provide the way that he wanted to provide? Right? Like what's the underlying reason? What's the generational cycles that pretty much were passed on? So it's never to play the blame game, but more so to raise awareness around what happened with our people, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also, when you get when you when and this is the reality. Some people are together for love. Some people are put together for convenience, or a little bit of both.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know, he passed a couple years ago from cancer.
Mm,
So, but before those years of him passing, we started to get close, because we wasn't
wow,
that close
wow.
growing up.
Mm,
But I started to kind of understand a little bit of why he would do what he would do.
of course.
I started to understand a little bit about why my mother was doing what she was doing. And ultimately, some things are convenience, love. So it's a variety of different
Yeah, most
different
definitely.
different things.
Most definitely. It's like when I talk about my father, for example, like him and my mom had a really, really toxic relationship, but he was probably 16 years old when he got my mom's pregnant and I was born, right? Like we can only imagine a 16-year-old brother who's on drugs, not only out in the streets selling drugs, but who's on drugs, but also probably was neglected from his parents and everything like that. But shit, this was New York in the late 80s. You think we were in a crack epidemic, murder epidemic,
Yeah.
AIDS epidemic.
Yeah.
Still the worst possible environment you could be from. So it's, again, never to point the finger, but like what happened at a systemic level. That's really what it comes down to.
Now, my mother, she was good with making sure she was real big on school,
Mhm.
making sure, my grades were good. My grades wasn't the best, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a C student.
Mm.
What the thing with me was like, I'm like, hey, listen, C,
Yep.
they say it's a
C's and D's
C,
get degrees.
you know. So that's kind of how it was, high school. And then I guess, we would try to get higher grades, but
Yeah.
she's like, hey, listen, I want you to apply for these internships.
Yep.
So even when the later end of my high school years,
Mm.
I had like office jobs.
Mm.
I was doing like different speaking gigs. When I say speaking gigs, like PSAs,
Mm. Got it.
public service
Yep.
announcements on like safer sex and
Mm.
teen healthiness. And
Mhm.
so, and when I went to college, she was like, hey, listen, make sure you're doing these
That's amazing,
internships.
man. That's amazing. Yeah.
So she had me on the right track. Um, it was just the only turbulence time was, I want to say, prior to me going to military school.
Hmm.
But the military school got me kind of shaped up.
Yeah. No, that's
And
incredible.
so you can say the military school act was acting as kind of the father figure there.
Yeah.
And it was only for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I went to a regular high school
Hmm.
in Manhattan.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
so there it kind of taught me, keep your room clean,
Yep. Yep.
yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am,
Punctuality,
how,
all of that.
how
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
take manners,
Yep.
um,
Etiquette.
etiquette.
Yep.
So military school picked up a lot of stuff where I lacked from, maybe a traditional father figure or my stepfather.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that played a big part.
No, definitely. Same here. I don't know if I told you, I actually went to a military school for college. So I could relate to that. It polished me way up
Yeah.
because I was rough around the edges. And I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but I was in the shed. And they basically made me, and I remember like seeing a lot of these just cadets running around the campus and like, nah, ain't no way I'm gonna be getting yelled at and all, that real Brooklyn
Yeah.
mentalities. But
Trust me, I know.
yeah, so but it's crazy once I actually got involved with it and I saw it for the value that it brought to the table. And today I attribute a lot of my success to that military training, right? Like how to be on time, the etiquette, like you said, just understanding how to navigate even through bureaucracy, right? Chain of command, that
Yes.
kind of thing, learning how to follow, right? I believe if you're going to be a leader, you got to also learn how to follow. And I love what you mentioned about just keeping it real. Like I got C's and it brought me back to that saying, like the C students are the ones that end up starting the companies and hiring the A students. But when it came to your education, right? Like you're educated a lot more than, let's say, just your average person. And what was education for you? Like, what do you feel was the greatest value for going to get higher education, a formal education? Do you feel like that had any effect on your business today and who you are as a man or as an entrepreneur?
Well, I want to say yes. So with going to university is okay. So I went to university, and I lived on campus, and then I had a apartment. So with just that university aspect, you kind of get a feel on how to be an adult. I had
Yes.
a low paying, well, I say low paying, like a college
Hmm.
job. I was making like $70 a week.
Hmm.
So like I literally like would put $10 of gas in, throttle the
Yeah. Yeah.
gas,
Yeah. Yeah.
budget, say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna get uh I'm gonna save $5 for maybe alcohol or
Yeah,
something. Like
yeah,
we in
yeah, yeah,
college,
yeah.
you
Eat
know,
some ramen noodles.
$10 for a haircut,
Mhm.
$10 for gas. Like literally I had a
Yeah.
$50 budget,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
per week. So with that, I got some life skills with the university. As far as the courses, really, the courses, what I learned is like it's like, okay, it's like I learned like a balance. It's, you know, I want to say, did I really learn anything from the university? I learned about statistics,
Mm,
um, odds. Like,
mm,
for example, I actually graduated from in my year, 2012. I had the highest paying job offer.
oh wow.
I think it was 2012, 2011 from the university.
Mhm.
And that's
Nice.
for the job that I did. But when people ask me, like, how did you get that job offer? Well, I just followed the curriculum. Somebody came to the school and was like, listen, if you do XYZ,
You get
you should,
this.
you get this job. No, you
Mhm,
get these grades.
mhm,
You take this extra curriculum, and these three companies should want to hire you.
mm,
Or if you do this internship.
mhm,
So it was one of those things of me just following XYZ,
mm.
and then the s- the the standards. When I say the standards, like you had a lot of people taking criminal justice.
Mm.
So what I did was I said, okay, this computer science program, they talking about IBM. There's only
Yeah.
10 people with that. So I went with that for like, man, if I could, I'm only competing with 10 people. And I'm sure it's gonna be more than 10 jobs,
Yeah.
office,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
versus another program, they had thousands of people. So it was that more of just
It's common sense. It's just
you,
you. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so now taking that job when I started working as a computer programmer,
Mm,
it was baloney. When I say baloney, because I mean, I went to school,
mhm,
got the job, and essentially what they was training me on was they were training me to migrate programs to Amazon Web Services.
mm.
So pretty much I was a mainframe programmer. They were
Got it.
telling me, hey, mainframe is going out of business,
Mm, mhm,
but we're going to train you on the mainframe
mm.
so you can migrate all of our information to this new thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happens after that? I just,
Of course.
so with corporate America, I learned how to play the game,
Mm.
how politics,
Yep.
how
Yep.
to politic. It's,
It's
so
important too. It's important. It comes back full circle in the business world. You know what I'm saying? So, that's amazing, bro. Now, I'm curious. I'm hearing this, and I see a lot of my story, just a lot of parallels between my story and your story,
okay.
in the sense that I also had that same mindset. Like I remember being in school and seeing the statistics. I think during my time over 85% of college grads were not getting jobs in their field. And my school had this specialized program where you can get a Coast Guard license to operate ships and be guaranteed six figures. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, I don't have the luxury of going back to the hood or going back to my parents' nice crib in the suburbs. So I got to figure this out. And I went that route with the Coast Guard licensing program, and it ended up paying off really well. But then as I'm in there and I'm making the money, I realize real quick, like, oh yeah, I ain't doing this for the rest of my life. Now, for you, after school, you're working, making your money. At what point did you say, you know what? I'd rather do my own thing. I'd rather get into entrepreneurship, right? Or like, did you quit your job? Like,
Well,
how did that look?
I had two role models I considered in my family. So one was an executive. He was an executive from a young age. I want to say 26.
Hmm,
He moved up in the ranks in the banking field.
nice.
So once I was in my position, I was kind of stuck on, hey, I want to be an executive.
Yeah.
I was in a accelerated program, so I was just like, man, I'm 21. I think I was making 83,000. That was a lot of money for
That's
me
yeah, that's great money at 21.
at
And to
that
earn that time, that's
yeah,
six
during
figures today. Yeah,
during
yeah.
that time. So
Mhm,
I'm working, and it's real competitive.
mhm.
So where it turned was that this guy I knew from when I was 16. I remember I was 16 years old. We was in New York City. Nobody really had cars in New York City.
Yeah, yeah.
So this kid, he had a car. Remember, 16 years old. And I was with some girl. Some girl's like, yo, this dude's about to pick us up. So the guy picks us up. I'm in the back seat with this girl. He got a girl in the front. And I'm looking at this guy
At
like he
16.
16. So I'm looking at, and
Crazy.
he's like 16 too. So I'm looking at, and we in New York City.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this guy like, oh man, this guy's the
He's a
man.
man. Yeah.
He got a car. We in the car with girls, 16. I'm like, damn, it must like, how does it feel to have a vehicle at this age? So fast forward, I'm working.
Mm.
Um, I go, I'm working. I'm in Tampa. I had a car, but I bought the car off of I bought the car. It was stupid. So
Mm.
I took my sign-on bonus and I like bought a car because I
Yeah.
didn't have any real financial
Yeah.
literacy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm driving around and I get a message on my phone like, "Hey, you're in Tampa. Um, we should meet up." I'm like, "Oh, who's this dude?" I'm like, "Oh, that's the guy from when I was 16, and I thought this
Wow.
guy was
Wow.
like, the man. So he's in Tampa now."
That's crazy.
So I meet up with him in Tampa, and he asked me, he's like, "Yo, like, how you getting all this money?" He was a DJ.
Mm.
So when it looked like a lot of money because I had a car, I was clothes, and then I had a little small clothing line. So my grandmother was a seamstress, so she would make me leather shirts.
Oh, wow.
So I was just wearing my own stuff. I'm like, "Grandma, make me a leather shirt." So when people ask me like, "Yo, what do you do?" I was like, "Oh, I'm a fashion designer." I was a computer programmer. I was making 80 something down, but that don't sound cool. At the time, it was like, nah,
Facts.
I'm a fashion designer. I got leather clothes, right?
Well, it's my merch right here. That's crazy.
So now he's like, yo, I'm a DJ, boom, boom, boom. He's DJing clubs. So he's like, yo, can you put me on? Can you put me on to how you selling your clothes? I
Mm.
said, I'm selling my clothes on Instagram.
Wow.
So really at the time, I really was making maybe like $200 a
And
month.
what year was this?
This was 2012.
So this is when Instagram really first started getting some momentum.
Yeah, they have
Yeah.
momentum, but they didn't have all the algorithm
Of course.
throttles.
Of
I'm not
course.
sure if Mark Zuckerberg owned it at the
Yeah. Yeah.
time, but
Yeah. He didn't at that time.
you
Yeah.
could post anything, you
Yep.
wasn't gonna get shut down,
Mhm.
so really I would post
Mhm.
uh um hey, I would post. It was really like 16-year-old people. Like these 16-year-old people, they might have had like 1 million followers
Mm.
because they just posted something at the
Yep.
time
Yep.
called like Shout for Shout.
Yep. I
Remember Shout
remember
for
that.
Shout?
Yeah. Crazy.
It's just
Wow.
pages, you just shout me
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
shout
Yeah.
me out.
Yeah.
So I'm hitting like this 16-year-old girl up like, yo, how much to post on your page? She's like, yo, give me $40.
Wow, I remember that time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
software called Kick. So I'm sending her 40. I might get like 1 or 2 shirt sales.
Yep.
I'm pretty much breaking even and
Yeah.
I'm just looking good, looking
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
So he's like, yo, can you show me how to sell on Instagram? Because he has a product he wants to sell.
Mm.
So I'm like, all right, you got to do this, this, and this, and this, and that. So I'm like, what you selling? He's like, well, I want to sell phone cases.
Mm.
So I'm like, you want to sell phone cases? So oh, he ain't going to make no money. So I'll just tell him, boom. I'm like, set this up, set your Instagram page up. You're going to get this software called Kick. And boom. He's like, thank you. Week later, he's like, yo, blowing me up. You won't believe it. I'm like, what happened? He's like, yo, I made like 25.
No way.
He didn't tell me how much. He said, come to my house. Go to his house. He shows me his PayPal account.
Crazy.
2,500. I'm
Crazy.
like, whoa,
Crazy.
you made $2,500? He's like, yeah, selling the phone cases. I'm like, bro,
Wow.
I don't even have $1,000 in my account. And I'm making 80 some thousand, but I'm blowing it.
Yeah.
I'm at the club. I'm trying to look good. I'm check to check.
Mm.
I'm getting a bunch of taxes taken out.
Mm.
And I'm like just losing money on the clothing line.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I told him like, bro, I'm not making no money for real. Like you making money.
So you're
So
really doing this.
exactly. So now he's like, yo, he's getting more products. He's packaging the products up, phone cases. So he's getting the phone cases online or for DHgate.
Mm.
Right. So I'm like, okay, I gotta sell something now.
Mm.
Right. So okay, so yeah, I'm like, I gotta sell something. So I go on DHgate and I'm looking for products to sell.
Mhm.
Like first I started out with keychains. I'm trying to see if I get lucky like
Yeah.
him. Like,
Yep,
is it
yep.
something that
Yeah.
sounds so,
Yeah, yeah.
so I get keychains. They were lighted keychains.
Mm.
So I think I placed the order. My first order was maybe like $60. My first week though, I made with the kick, I think I made $300.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I'm on to
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Cause I was only making
Yep.
$400 with the clothing line for
Mhm.
the month. So
Yeah.
I'm like, first week, 300. So the lighting keychains was like 99 cents. I'm selling them for $5.
That's a lot of volume, though. That's a good amount of volume. Yeah, you're selling a lot of lighters.
Yeah, so it's like kids. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
grenade stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
promoting on all these kids
Yeah.
pages. So 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 now I'm like, I need something with a little bit more margin.
Mhm.
So now
Crazy.
I'm doing e-cig pens.
Mm.
But I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what is this stuff? You look cool. You put it in your mouth and you puff it, you smoke it. So I'm like, I'm gonna buy that.
Mm.
So I was getting it for, I think I was paying $2
Mm.
and I was selling it for 20
Nice.
or a pack of
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then you had to do like flavors with it and
Some
stuff
good
like that.
margins. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And then I hit it when I started doing hookah. So
Mm.
that's my first company.
Wow.
Shop
I didn't
Hookah.
know that. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, Shop Hookah Unlimited.
Mm.
So I was getting these hookah devices for the margin was crazy. I think I was paying $22 per device and I was selling it for $122
Wow.
with shipping.
Wow.
So that's when
Wow.
I started hitting.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I'm selling like 10 hookahs a day,
Crazy.
doing marketing online. I had like some server. Because when I did the marketing,
Mhm.
I would pay like a bunch of people now. So I'm paying this girl, that guy. I'm like, yo, I'm about to spend like 200 in promo.
Yeah.
Boom. Spent 200 in promo. And the products was being marketed like across like millions of people.
Yeah.
And this at the time, you had something, Alexa was something that manages the traffic website.
Got it.
So I don't know if it adapted today. You got Alexa with Amazon, but
Mm.
Alexa used to be, you could go on the site and manage how much traffic a website's getting.
Got it.
And my website was getting something crazy. So I had to get like a special server
Mhm.
so the traffic, when we did those promos, the traffic would hit. So I was doing like 1,000 a day, easy.
Wow.
So now I'm at work. Now I got cars. So people like, yo, where is it? I've got this new Corvette. People like, yo, what is it? This is one of the new dudes working here. He got something. He got a big boy like
Crazy. Yeah,
Infinity.
yeah.
So now we racing on the highway.
I remember you mentioned the car club. So
Yeah,
this is kind of how that
yeah,
story came. Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
we racing on the highway, car clubs, showing out, getting crazy. Jet skis.
Wow.
So
Wow.
now, but he's not working.
Mm.
He's full time phone cases.
Oh, wow.
10,
Oh,
20.
wait. So he stuck it out with the phone cases.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you put him on and
He put him on.
he
He got
took
a
off.
car first. He got
Ah.
boom. So now I'm still at work. My boss texted me like, where you at? I'm like, where I'm at? I'm like, I just did $1,000 in sales. He texted me on my BlackBerry like, you need to come back here, something like that. I'm like, man, screw this job, right? So I remember like it was yesterday. I quit.
Oh, wow.
I quit.
Yeah.
I regret how I quit it.
Yeah.
So I quit, and I had some money now.
Wait. You got to mention how if you regret it, you got to mention how you quit.
Okay, so I quit twice. That's what I'm about to tell you. So,
Okay.
so I'm flying my mom out, and they love this story. They're just like, oh, I'm flying apes. So my mom's out here, grandma's, my sister's out here. I remember we went to like, I think we went somewhere to like some store, and I'm like, we getting bags.
Yeah.
At the time, it was like Michael Kors watches.
Crazy. Yeah.
So I got like my sister a bunch of Michael Kors. We just stupid,
balling out.
stupid stuff. So I said, you know what? I'm wasting my money. I'm about to go buy a house.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to buy a house. It's just something you heard like,
Yeah.
yo,
Yeah. Yeah.
you start making money
Mhm.
and you should buy property or
Yep.
something like
Yep.
that. So I'm like, I'm about to go buy a crib. And then so I sat down, I'm looking on, I didn't know how to buy it,
Mm.
what to look for, new, used, none of that. So I seen a couple of I seen a house. They was like, "Yeah, you got a realtor pre-approval." I'm like, I got the money. They was like, nah, you need a realtor pre-approval.
Yep.
So it was that Friday, quit my job. Something happened. I wasn't feeling it. I was like, yo,
I'm out.
I'm out. I'm getting too much. I'm getting like 14,000. I'm out.
A lot.
So quit. I met with the realtor. I'm like, yo, I'm ready to buy a house. Boom, boom, boom. He's like, what do you do? I was like, yo, I do E6. This is how much money I'm making. And the guy's like, bro, you only been doing this business for like a couple months. I can't qualify you for a house. You need a job, or you need to go back to that
Wow.
job.
Wow.
If you're going to qualify, you can use your business money as a down payment, but
Yeah.
you don't got no your
That's
tax returns.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm like, damn. So I'm like, okay, call the job back. I'm like, listen, I was having a mental breakdown or something, right? so, so this is
Oh
legit.
my
Like,
gosh. This is crazy.
so this is a job. Went to school for internships. I wanted this dream job. Walked off. So now I call them back. So they got me talking to like this high level VP. Like we might have to do a psych eval on you
Like,
because
yo, I was wilding.
like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody this is a good job. Just
Yeah.
quits. So
Crazy.
I didn't even mention the business. I was like, yo, I got a little carried away. I was stressed out. Boom. They said, okay, cool. We're going to switch your management up because we want to retain talent. So I thought, okay. But they knew I was up to something. I had a big boy
Yeah.
car
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah.
I think salary was like 80. My car was 80,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
So now they're watching me closely. They're like, we want you in the office more. So I said, okay. I hired somebody to package my orders while I was at work. So I'm at work running. And one thing about corporate America, it's a lot of fluff. It's a lot of emails. It's a lot of
Yeah.
time wasting, a lot of
Yep.
babysitting.
Yep.
And the amount of work that was needed to get done was maybe could take like an hour. And honestly, I feel like they could have trained somebody fresh out of high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
a couple of weeks or so,
Yeah. Yeah.
they could do the same thing I was
They just
doing.
want to justify that salary. It's like, we want to show that you're working. Yeah.
Exactly. So, so I'm looking for the house now. Found the house. They're like, listen, we got you the house, submitted my paperwork, got pre-approved. This is when I realized things were crazy too. Because I started looking at things a little differently. I said, I wonder how much I was looking at what I was getting on my check versus how much I was making for my business. And even when I was doing the clothing line and I was making only an extra $400 from my side business, for me to get an extra $400 on my check, that company would have to pay me an extra $20,000 a year when you adjust for the taxes and
Yep.
everything. So that's when I kind of started looking at things differently too. And so then even with the pre-approval, and the approval was based off of the income I was making from the job, not the income I was making from the business. But they approved me for like 275. And I was like, man, if I was to get a $275,000 house at that time,
Yeah.
this was back when like $300,000 house was like, oh, you
Yep.
made
Yep.
it. I'm like, I'll be dead broke. I'll be living check to check. So
Yep.
all of my money will be going to the mortgage. I was like, well, that's a trap. So
Yeah.
even then,
Yep.
I was just like, no, I don't want
Crazy.
to, I'm not going to do the max 275.
Yeah.
It's just me. So I was looking for houses, 250, 260. Came across a foreclosure, and it was a law where I guess if an investor bought it to slow down the market or something like that, the investor had to wait a couple of days, and maybe it was like 60 days or 90 days, until they put it back on the market for it to qualify
Got it.
as like first time home buyer.
Yep.
Now, if it was somebody else that wasn't going through that program,
Mm.
maybe they could have got it.
Yeah.
This was 2013, 12. No, excuse me, this is 2015 now, ish, 15. So had the business for like almost a year. So at the time I was having a kid.
Oh, wow.
So now get the spot. Literally, boom. As soon as I closed on the house, I called this one guy from my job. He was hating. And because he bought a house too. So I was like, I bought a house too. Showed him the house. He's like, damn, this is crazy. Like the next week I quit. I was like, so, now I felt bad.
After they done took you back. Yeah.
So I felt bad because I was like, damn, I had a good job. And really, to be fair, it was a combination of being a minority,
Yeah.
them having to fulfill diversity requirements, which is
Of
all
course.
good. I
Yep.
benefited from
Oh, yeah.
diversity
Yep.
requirements.
Oh, yeah.
So, going back, I should have contacted the recruiter who got me the position saying, listen, I think I got other opportunities.
Yeah.
Let's see if we could get somebody else, another brother in here
Got it.
to replace me
Yeah. Yeah.
and give him that opportunity.
Makes sense.
So that's the regret that I have
Makes sense. Yeah.
from that.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. Just hearing you go over this story. And I didn't even know a lot of this part of the journey, like with the e-commerce and everything like that. And, I got to ask the question because a lot of people don't think the way that you think. And you're like, when I hear you talk about the journey, I hear a brother that's just to the bone an entrepreneur. Like that's just your way of thinking, right? Is just entrepreneurship 101. And I'm curious what you feel caused you to get that frame of thinking. Like, was it seeing other entrepreneurs? Do you feel like you were born that way? Do you feel like you probably just got to a place where this money ain't making no sense, this job thing ain't making no
Well,
sense?
well, I got to a place where I felt like I was scared actually.
Mm,
So the first time I did quit too, I was taking my job. I was using my job money to buy products.
yeah.
So I was able to feel like I could take a little bit higher level of risk because I had a job.
Hmm.
So the job did come in handy.
Yeah.
With the products I was buying, I was putting in $10,000 orders. Maybe I wouldn't have put those orders. So as far as me and we had a falling out, and you could say maybe that was one of the reasons. But I felt me having a job, I
Mm,
was able to buy products and take more risk. Now, when I quit, I was scared because now it's like, oh crap, this money in my account, I don't have money that is guaranteed coming to replenish.
of course.
So it was scary.
Yeah.
Um, there was times where the business got rough. I actually ended up going out of business. That's how I got to this business.
Yeah.
But there was times where the business got scary, and I was like, "Oh shit, I got to go back to work. I got to use my degree." So now, but it was two different things. I had two different types of people in my ear. I had my family that's like, "You're crazy. We need you to get back to work
Yeah.
because you got a kid,
Yep.
um, you got a degree, you have skill sets that boom." On the other hand, it wasn't necessarily me chasing. I guess I was chasing the money,
Hmm.
but it was more of a time thing. I'm like, if I just spend more time working on my business
Hmm.
versus working on this,
Yep.
I could probably have a better outcome. Now, I didn't have the guidance,
Mm,
so I wasn't financially responsible. I didn't have any understanding on scale of economy,
yep.
credit,
Yep.
cash flow, just a bunch of different skill sets needed to run a business.
Hmm.
So even when the money was coming in, I would, let's say I got to sell because I ultimately became an e-cig distributor
Yeah.
where my business evolved from selling products to uh, purchasing like materials to manufacture e-liquid.
Got it.
So when you could put e-liquid in something called a box mod.
Mhm.
So I was like in, I want to say like a bunch of stores.
Yeah.
So I would get like these $50,000 orders. Excuse me. So I would pay like a distributor, no, a manufacturer like
Yeah.
30 grand.
Yeah.
Boom. For order. I would get a distributor to cash me out 50,000.
Mm.
And then I'm busting down 20,000 in the middle between me and some whoever helped me put the order together.
Yep.
So what I would do is to sell more products. I'm like, okay, I'm getting greedy now. I'm selling a product. And I remember I made like I think I made 6,000 one day from
Mm.
selling this product. And then I found out how much he was making. I was mistake number one, worrying about other people's pockets. I'm like,
Mm.
damn, I made 6,000, but he made like 20,000. He's making like 100,000 a month doing e-liquid.
Mm.
So now I'm taking big risks. I'm like, yo, I'm about to go all in.
Mm.
Boom, empty my accounts out, get more bottles, get more distributors. I'm at trade shows. Remember, like it was yesterday, the regulations changed.
Oh, wow.
So not anybody could just make e-liquid and the back end. It's health.
Yep.
So you had to be FDA approved.
Yeah.
Just because it's FDA approved doesn't mean it's safe.
Of course.
So that pushed out the little guy. Now the bigger guys was like, yes, reduce competition.
Yep.
Now you got to have big money to play. And, these bigger e-liquid companies at the time, they loved it. So me, I'm like, you know what? Screw that. I thought I was slick. So what I did was I took the last little money I had. I remember it was like $16,000. So I had all my money in inventory now. I
Yeah.
had these co-workers, call-in phones to sell products to these different shops. And I had all these cars, right? Irresponsible.
Mhm.
So now I said, I'm gonna do CBD. It's the
Mm.
CBD is hot now, but I said I'm gonna do CBD. So I took my last 16,000. I met up with this guy in Cali, and I gave him some stuff to manufacture some products. So the CBD it's gonna have a higher profit margin on it. So I was like, oh, it's only gonna cost me this. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna sell this for triple, quadruple the price. And they met the DEA made, as soon as I placed the order, the DEA made CBD for a short period of time a Schedule 1 drug.
That's crazy.
So I'm calling distributors. I'm like, yo, you said you was going to get my CBD product. They're like, no, you can't ship that across state. That's Schedule 1.
Wow.
You didn't hear the news? So I'm like, shit, I'm out of business.
Mm.
So that was all my money. I had a bunch of products in e-liquid.
Wow.
And this is when I started realizing, okay, what have I been doing? What's my expenses? Monthly expenses was like 8,000 a month. Looked at, okay, what's my house payment? House payment was at the time $2,700, but the rent I could collect on it was only like $2,000,
Wow.
right? Infinity truck, upside down on that. If I wanted to hop out, I'm negative on the truck,
Crazy.
right? Corvette payment. Too high at the time. It was a good payment because somebody co-signed for me,
Got it.
but it was still too high.
Yeah.
So I got $8,000 in bills, and I remember I just had 30 cents
Mm.
in my account.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was paying people out.
Yeah.
I told the office guy I had an office. I was like, yo, they made Schedule 1. They got CBD Schedule 1. Nobody's really messing with me. So this is what happened. I got 30 cents in my account. I told my girl at the time, I was like, yo, you're gonna have to go back to work. That's my first kid's mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
So somebody wrote me, I had an Instagram page
Mm.
with like 130,000 followers
Oh, wow.
called Vaporia.
Mm.
So now we're talking 2015 now.
Mm.
2015. I want to say maybe 2000, late 2015, early 16, or late 15. I had an Instagram page. Some guy was like, "Yo, can I market on your page?" And I was so broke. I was like, "Yo, shit, what you want to do?" He's like, "Yeah, I just want to put a post on your page.
Mm,
They launching a product now. Bigger companies now pull the little guys out." I said, give me $20,
mm.
right? So, I think it was PayPal. I don't know if I was using Cash App.
Yeah.
All I know is I got $20. So I'm like, damn, I just got. It was PayPal. I was like, I just got $20 on PayPal. So I was like, shit. So I hit another company up. I was like, yo, you want to do marketing on my page? They was like, yeah, we do marketing on your page. I was like, give me $40.
Mm.
Give me $50. Give me $100.
Wow.
Give me $1,000.
Crazy.
So now, girl left me. Got a whole new business now.
Wow.
I got an e-sig page, and I'm doing marketing for all these other e-sig companies
Mm.
that stayed in.
Crazy.
So I get a guy from Upwork. I'm like, yo, I want you to hit up all the trade shows, copy and paste the email addresses, get the numbers, hit them with it, hit them with a DM, get their Instagram page. You want to do promo? Then I set up a list of vape shops. I had a database.
Mm.
So what I would do is say, hey, listen, I got 10,000 emails. I got my MailChimp set up. I'm paying mad burn on MailChimp, like thousands of dollars. I said, listen, give me $1,000. I'm going to do an email blast. So I'm doing $1,000 email blast. So I think that business, I had it for a couple months. It kind of saved me a little bit.
Mhm.
I was able to bring in, I remember like yesterday, like 70,000.
Wow.
So now, if you know about
Crazy.
marketing business,
Yeah.
it's pure profit now.
Yep. Yep.
So there's no overhead. There's no like inventory.
Crazy.
So I'm like, oh shit, 70, because I'm humble now. I'm like,
Mhm.
damn, made 70 grand off for email marketing. So they lifted the ban on the CBD,
Mm.
lifted the ban on the CBD. So I still had the product. So I'm like, oh, they lifted the ban on the CBD. The money started slowing up with the marketing because now you have other people doing it too. And then they were like, bro, you see, I guess it was some fluff in it. I think I was like marketing to like 10,000 vape shops, but it was
Got it.
like,
Got it.
it wasn't no 10,000 vape
Yeah.
shops.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just like, so you have other people hustling in the industry. So kind of people didn't start trusting the marketing. So now what happened now? Okay. What happened was I'm behind.
Mhm.
I'm getting caught up on bills, but I'm behind. I didn't catch up on my mortgage. The Infinity got repoed.
Mm.
So,
Yep.
you know, I was still holding on to the Corvette at the time. And I said, you know what? I held on another year, but I can't afford this house payment.
Yeah.
So what happened was I started entering pre-foreclosure
Mm.
because the payments was too high. So I was
Yep.
behind like $7,000 or something like
Yeah.
that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm about to lose the crib. Um, and I was looking for jobs.
Mm.
I was applying and seeing if I could work from home.
Mm.
I said, I'm about to lose the crib. I'm about to lose the car. Because I had a co-signer and it was my grandfather. He was like, yo, you late on this car. I'm about to take this car back from you. We about to sell it and give it back to
Yeah.
so-and-so. So I said, you know what? No. I said, let me rent the car out. So I wanted to keep it. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
let me rent it. Now, Toro,
Crazy.
it wasn't as big as it is
Yeah.
now, but
Yeah.
this was like, I was like, let me put on this rental site. So I rented the car, put it up there for like $300. So I was like, oh man, I just rented my Corvette for 300. Car note was 700.
Mm.
So
3 days and you good.
yeah, I was like, damn. So I'm renting my car out, and I remember like I bought in maybe like 2,200,
Mm.
and that 2,200 was different because it was like, oh, it wasn't the full money. It was just enough for me to pay the note, make some money, and still ride it. So I was like, damn, let me see if I can rent my house out.
Yeah.
Put my house on Airbnb.
Wow.
I was just like, set up a profile. I didn't even know how to price it. I was like, they're about to take the house because there's no way
Man,
I'm
nothing to
coming up
lose at that point.
with $7,000 back payments. I'm already out the game. I must have been in a crazy place. Was I giving up? I don't know. My grandma was like, just find a job. So put the house on Airbnb, $100. Called my grandmother. I was like, yo, I got my house rented. I was in Spring Hill. She's like, what you rent the house for? I was like, $100. She's like, you rent your entire house for $100. You can't even get a hotel for $100. So I was like, I don't know what's, I'm just, it's new. You don't know what's
Of
the
course, of
price.
course.
So I'm 100, 200, 300,
Mm,
400, 500, six
wow.
hundred, 700, 800 a night.
Wow.
My house, big house, bedrooms, pool. You can party, you can get crazy. This was
Crazy.
back in the
Yeah.
day. So I didn't like, hey, you want to throw a party? Yeah, throw a party at my house. I wasn't caring about the neighbors.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so now I'm like, oh man. So with the car in the house, I'm making like 5,000 a month. But that was it was like I was broke.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
damn, I was getting money at the job,
Yep, yep.
right? Then I had an e-cig business where I was doing between 14 to 30,000 a month
Mm,
net at like 20 something, but I was mismanaging the money.
yep.
Got back to humble. So where the 5,000 felt different, it felt like, oh, this is if, because I was bringing home around that with the job.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, I kind of reset a
Yep,
little bit,
yep.
but I have a little bit more experience and perseverance. So now credit's messed up. So I'm like, okay, think I got a new business here. So I need to get some more houses. Can't buy the house.
Mhm.
I can't buy any more houses. I didn't know I didn't know.
Of course.
If hindsight, looking back, yeah, I actually could have bought a lot of houses.
Mm.
You know, 20% down, different
Yep,
programs,
yep.
but we don't know. So I went to this management company. It was this black dude, it was real smooth dude. Um, I'm like, yo, can I rent a house? He's like, yeah, you can rent a house. I was like, yo, you got pool homes? He's like, yeah, we got pool homes. So I was like, yo, let me get a house. I was like, what I need? He's
And
like,
this why you making 5 Gs a month. You want
yeah, this
okay.
is the rent.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So he's like, yeah, you could. It was a big company. It's called Waypoint Homes.
Mm,
So they heard they're like, but their policy, they didn't have any policies really.
mm.
So I get the house and I get the house cheap. Pool home, freaking 3 bedrooms, big backyard. I'm paying like $1,300 a month. So I put that on Airbnb, boom, hitting, bringing in like 4,000 a month.
Crazy.
Now at the time, there was only like six. So what I learned from computer science business is you got to be very analytical with like data and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So now I started kind of going back to my roots, not thinking about the money, but now doing research, like learning my market, who's out there, how many listings.
Yep.
Okay, at the time I was 600 listings.
Mm.
What they was charging, what I could charge, how many people had pools. So boom, I get a house. I said, what you need? First, he said, first, you just gotta make 3 times the rent. So at that time, I just needed an income of like 3,800 bucks or something like that.
Mhm.
Go back to him. I said, can I get another house? He's like, yeah. So I was like, wouldn't I have to make like because I just got a house like a month ago. He's like,
Mhm.
nah, it's the same thing. So I'm like, you're telling me I could get like 10 houses? He's like, yeah, if you got the money.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh shit. So now I'm on like all these leases, right? So I'm signing leases with this company. Pool home, pool home, pool. Got a bunch of pool homes. So I hit my friend up in New York. No, he was in Maryland. I said, yo, I'm trying to get some more houses.
Mhm.
We can make some money, but I need you. The company said I'm at the limit. So do you want to sign for some of these houses for me? You just got to sign with your social. We're going to get the house. We'll go half on the revenue. So he got 2 houses with me and I scaled that up to like 9 pool homes.
Wow.
So we talking 2000 and I'm getting furniture cheap. I'm going to pick up furniture and I'm furnishing houses $2,000. And it wasn't like called like rental arbitrage, or maybe that's what it was
Yeah.
called at the time. They were doing it in California. So I did see like a little infomercial too. It was real late at night and it was like, I just spent 100,000 and I rented 5 houses or something like that. Why spend 100,000 buying a house when you could rent 5?
Yeah.
And that sounds like, oh, I got a house already. Let
Mhm.
me throw this house I'm in that's about to be foreclosed on.
Yeah.
So now I got 9 houses. Um, I think I was making now 12,000 a month
Mm,
net,
crazy.
but the revenue was crazy though. I had a lot of revenue. So I was bringing in like maybe like 80,000 revenue,
Yep.
12,000 net. I had a bunch of like working capital loans and all these little different products to help me scale that I was paying back. And so so what happened first time I almost went out of business. I got all these houses. I don't have any reserves because the money keeps going back
Yep.
into scaling the business. So now we're talking 2000 and it took me about a year or so. I
Mhm.
was just hustling. So now we're talking about 2017, getting close to 2018. 2017, we had a hurricane. Hurricane comes through, all my reservations get canceled.
Oh, wow.
So before Airbnb used to have like a meter, and Airbnb had a meter and it tells you like your reservations.
Mhm.
Hurricane comes through, all my reservations get canceled. I had like 9 spots. I'm like, damn, I'm out of business. Actually, I ended up not being able to pay on like 2 spots. So I got evicted from like, and this was when everything was in my personal.
Yeah.
So I got evicted. Well, I guess when you say evicted, it's no real eviction. It's just if I was an actual tenant, I was there, I would have got evicted,
Of
but
course.
I had to let like 2 houses go. So I'm like, oh man, I'm out of business. I'm paying like 40,000 a month in rent. Hurricanes just came through. All my reservations are canceled. A company hits me up like, they're like, hey, we're working with FEMA to help put tarps on the damaged roofs
Mhm.
in Tampa. So I'm like, okay, crazy. I'm like, so you guys want to rent a house? They're like, no, we want to rent all your houses.
Mm.
So they was paying like, I think 5,000 per house.
Wow.
So that's when I was like, okay, I'm up.
Yeah.
So that was my first, like, I made a lot of money off of them. But the money I took, when I say a lot of money, meaning like they paid me a lot of money
Yep.
to
Yep.
rent the houses.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, damn, I'm gonna give them my house. So I got my house rented and all these other houses. So I said, I'm gonna go get me a loft or a condo downtown.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm not sure if I want to purchase or if I want to rent. Go downtown. I hear about this new building coming up. Get to the building, and it just so happened the day they were signing the leases or showing the building, the developer was there. So he was at the open house. So they were like, oh, yeah, you came on time. This is the developer to this building. And I'm looking at the lofts. I'm like, man, this is nice. How much is this? He's like, $1,000. I'm like, $1,000. That's it. And I didn't know if I was disconnected because,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
$1,000. I'm looking at this like, that's nothing. So I'm looking at him. I was just like, yo, would you rent the entire building? Like, can I just rent the entire building? It was like
Mhm.
13 units. So he's looking at me like, who is this guy?
Mm.
So he was like, yeah, yeah, maybe. And I was like, how much you getting? He was like, well, with you, I'll probably get like 13. I was like, I'll give you 16,000 a month for the building.
Mhm.
So he said, yeah, but he was just all
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Signed the lease, moved in. I see other people moving in. I'm like, yo, I thought, where's the developer at? I see these other people moving in. I thought I could rent the building. So I'm like, you know what? I had fun with the apartment for a little bit. Now it's just early 2018. Have fun with the apartment. And when I say have fun, like I was just playing around in it.
Mhm.
So I said, you know what? Let me see what this apartment could do on Airbnb.
Mm.
So I put the apartment on Airbnb, and I started building up a network
Mhm.
of people knowing me. This is when I started getting known for having short-term rentals, 2017. Because
Got it.
originally I was letting people do parties,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so people was like, "Yo, hit this dude up for parties,
Mhm.
Airbnb King or whatever." Um, So I put the spot on Airbnb and I was on private direct bookings. And that place brought in like $4,000 revenue. So now I got traffic in and out.
Mhm.
Other tenants are complaining to the management company, like, yo, the dude, this what you because there was a bunch of women also
Yeah.
in the building. So they're like, you letting this guy, we got, we feel uncomfortable.
Mhm, mhm.
So I get a letter from the management company. They're like, we're gonna terminate your lease. So I'm like, terminate my lease. I'm like, I said something like, like,
Yeah.
I'm here. They're like, we don't care who you are. Like, get out of our apartment complex. So, oh, I find the developer's number online and I hit him up and I was just like, yo, could buy the building. I could not
Yeah,
buy it.
yeah, yeah.
But I was like, yo, my business is making money.
Mhm, mhm,
Look, I showed him my numbers. I
mhm.
was like, look, you only making this. I'm making 4,000 a month on the apartment. Like I showed you the numbers. And then he hit me back after I showed him the numbers.
Mhm, mhm.
So he's like, what you want to do? Oh, so he said, let me rephrase this. I couldn't get in contact with the developer at first when they
Mhm.
sent me that letter. So I was paying this long guy to, I said, listen, I'm going to give you $20
Mm.
or $50. You want to tell me where the developer's at? Because he had different developments.
Yeah.
So I would literally pop up at his development site. Like, he's like, here, like, how does he know I'm here?
Crazy.
I'm popping up on like big subdivisions he's doing. I'm like, yo, remember me? Remember me? I'm the tenant. He's like, yo, what? Right. So he's like, listen, you got 10 minutes. I'm like, this is my plan. This is my plan. This is my plan. These are the numbers. He's like, all right, cool. Seen the numbers. He's like, well, I got tenants. So how you gonna get the tenants out? I said, I'm gonna pay him to leave. I said, this is lucrative. We're gonna be making all this money. You're only making 13,000. That was his NOI. That's when I started learning the terms net operating income.
Mhm,
And I was offering to pay him 20,000 a month.
mhm.
So I was instantly raising his cap rate.
Yep.
And I was like, shit, I'm gonna bring in 50,000 a month revenue. So
Yeah.
it was two types of revenues. Got advance revenue because people are always booking in advance,
Yep.
right? So I said, I'm gonna bring in 50,000, I'm gonna pay him 20,000, I'm out of here. So that's when I first got introduced to apartment complexes.
Mm.
So now we do the deal. I pay the tenants to leave. And this is crazy because New York, think about this. You just put a notice on everybody's door. Hey, you got to get out. I'm going to give you $500. You out of here.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing like that in New York.
Of course.
You got laws has
Yep,
changed
yep.
now. But, so now I'm getting an apartment complex. I'm like, man, instead of an Airbnb, I could run this. I'm going to call it my own hotel. I said,
Mhm,
what's the requirements to do hotel? It's like, you just need a license. I'm like,
mhm.
okay, what's that? Do I need school? No. Go to this website, pay $100 some. Now you got a license.
Crazy.
And some guy comes out, checks it, looks around, sloops around. Okay, you're good. You're a hotel.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, at least
Wow.
here in Tampa.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh crap, I got my own hotel. Right. So got the building. Um, as far as the furniture, oh, crazy. Let me tell you how I got the building with no money. So I actually didn't have the money for the building because I had issues. The issues I was having with the houses was that so many people were booking
Mhm.
that I wasn't staying on top of my cancellations. So you could book and cancel. Now, when you cancel, the money's supposed to go back to you.
Of course.
I wasn't issuing the refunds out of negligence or
Yep.
just like, I already
Yes.
spent the money. I got to
Yep.
refund you $5,000.
Yep.
So now these people are calling a credit card company. So I'm getting chargebacks. That's where it starts to like, I'm like, oh shit. So boom, I'm getting 80,000 revenue. I'm getting 16,000 in chargebacks. Right. So I said, damn. So I'm like, damn, I'm supposed to do this deal with this guy. And that's when I got hooked up with this company. And it was like, yo, what's your revenue? I showed them my revenue. And they were like, oh, we could possibly lend you some money based off your revenue. So I was using like all these different companies to leverage my revenue
Yep.
to get working capital loans. Now, at the time, how I got the building with no money, because we had a start date in the future.
Mhm.
So what I did was I took the building, I uploaded it to all of the sites
Got
where
it.
you get the money
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
I don't think you can do that now.
Yeah.
So upload it, boom, get all the money in, call a developer. I'm like, yo, got the money. So he knew something was like shaky because he knew something was shaky. So gave him the money. Then the furniture, didn't even pay for the furniture up front. I went to same as cash, zero down. You got 90 days to pay for the furniture. So I went found one of these distributors. I'm like, yo, let them see my accounts. They ran some stuff. I bought like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of couches. So starting out, I literally only had about 3 pieces of furniture, maybe 4. It was simple. I had the same couch. It was 13 units. Boom, 13 couches. 13 couches, 13 TVs,
Mattresses.
26 beds.
Mhm.
Mattresses was horrendous. I'm talking about cheap, horrendous mattresses. I'm starting out.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a hotel. So I'm on all these different hotel websites, and on Airbnb, I'm a vacation rental.
Mhm.
So that's when the business exploded because I'm advertised as an Airbnb, but I'm coming up to all these other
Of course.
platforms like a
Yeah.
hotel.
Wow.
So now I lost some houses because of the chargeback issues. I had to get that. So now I got 13 lofts. I think I have maybe like 6 houses or something like that. Um, HOA sued me. So HOA can foreclose on your property,
Mhm.
which is crazy. So HOA sued me. I'm like, yo, too much. They changed the rules
Mhm.
because now rules and regulations are
Yep.
catching up. So this is 2018. They're like, nope, no more short-term rentals. You could fight it. You could pay a lawyer like 50 grand.
Yep.
But I was like, nah. So that house went down, which was my house, my person. I got caught up in everything. So it took me a year to stabilize that apartment complex business because it's new. Now I'm managing a apartment complex, like
Mhm.
different ACs, 13 ACs. And you could get scale,
Yep.
but it has some benefits and drawbacks versus a house. So I'm doing that, and I'm working. So now we had 2019. That's when I started marketing towards insurance companies and starting to just branch out outside of Airbnb. Like I'm doing insurance. I got programs with the city to house like pregnant women and
Mhm.
all different type of subsidies going
Yep.
on. But I wasn't, I was still kind of recovering. I had to pay stuff off. I got hit with some lawsuits from some of these working capitals
Yep.
that I got that was freezing my account.
Mm.
So, I had some turbulence. So now I remember 2019, excuse me, 2019, and then the beginning of 2020.
So right, like leading into the pandemic.
Yeah, end of 2019, I started making good money
Mm.
right up until 2020 in the beginning. So I'm like, oh man, I was like, finally, I'm rich.
Mm.
This was beginning of 2020.
Yeah.
Went, think I went to the dealership to spec out some car. I was like, yo, I got this new car coming. I'm getting money back. I'm back.
Yeah.
Pandemic hit. I'm like, oh
Crazy.
shit, I just can put an order in for this. Like, I'm like, what's going on? What is this pandemic? I'm like, can't win. So now I'm like, shit, is this business? I'm like, I just got like, so pandemic hit. I'm like, all right, boom. I said, I'm not gonna get caught with my pants down. So instantly I had a vehicle, I sold it. I was like, all right, it was paid off. So that's how I'm gonna put the money in my account because we didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I got real lean. I jumped into like a 2002 cargo van.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Wow.
didn't know it was gonna happen. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm not going out
Better
of
safe than
business.
sorry, yeah.
So I got humbled, jumped into a cargo van, had no whip. I'm running around Balenciagas with a freaking creep van, you know what I'm saying? So
Got
man,
the
no
fan
windows,
bus.
no windows. So I'm like, all right. So I got lucky. They said no, you can't do short-term rentals in
Mm.
Tampa, right? Because of the health concerns.
Oh, wow.
You can only rent to non-emergency.
Mm.
Now that didn't apply to hotels. I had a hotel
Crazy,
license on the building.
crazy.
So boom, everybody going out of business. I'm open for business. I'm pumping.
During the pandemic.
During the pandemic. So I'm paying the developer. I'm going to his house. You know, he's like, yo, he don't even believe it. He's like, how are you paying me? I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like, he's like, like nobody's paying rent right now. Like everybody is like panicking. He's like, he's not even paying his rent on his
Yeah,
barn.
yeah, yeah.
And yet paying. I'm like, I'm open.
Mm.
So renting. So now that's when everybody in the city, they started taking advantage of it now. So they was doing like parties and stuff at my units,
Mhm.
but you have to stay competitive, stay
Of
alive.
course.
So I'm doing that 2020. And I didn't do no expansion. The government put money on people's debit card for for their housing. So we had people coming, like people we used to rent to.
Mm.
When I say we, like my team, we used to rent to them. They'll come through. Oh, we going to Cali. They bust some moves, come back, got a couple of dollars
Mm.
to lay up for a week or so. And this girl comes. She's like, "Yo, I want to pay for 6 months." We like, "How you want to pay for 6 months?"
Mm.
I'm like, 6 months. I was like, I just threw a number out there. It was stupid, like 30 grand,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
stupid. And she's like, okay.
Right.
We like, how you pay? She's like, I'm gonna use two. She's like, I got a debit card here. I'm like, whoa, what's that? She's like, yo, where you been? The government is paying for people's rent.
Mm.
I'm like, no way. Boom. So we swiping all these people's cards,
Wow.
right? So now, um, we had so much coming in from these people who had this money on their card that this one credit card processor, they didn't even pay me out 40,000. I didn't even notice, right? I didn't even notice I didn't get a $40,000 payment
Mm.
until I think I looked at my account and I was just like, yo, my account looked kind of low. Went through my transactions. Credit card processor was like, yo, um, you got too much payments coming through. You're specified as a vacation rental business
Mhm.
in the middle of a pandemic.
Mm.
We're going to hold these payments for 180 days because technically you could call your credit card company and say it wasn't you, it wasn't me.
Wow.
Even though we're like, no, it's government. This is government money. This is
Crazy.
coming from. They're like, no, you're processing too much.
Mm.
So that kind of put a damper on the business. So 2020, that was that. So 2020 was a good year. I did well that year, but I didn't grow or anything like that. And my mindset wasn't on what's next. It was just kind of like a sustaining,
Of
maintaining.
course.
I didn't know what was up. So now you got 2021. 2021 comes. I'm in it, short-term rental business. Everybody's doing great in 2021
Mm.
because the industry, you had pent-up demand from
Mhm.
people who didn't travel.
Yep.
Everybody had disposable income, it seemed like, because of the government. So you could have literally opened up an Airbnb business, threw a mattress on the floor, and you didn't have to know nothing about nothing.
Yeah.
You were gonna get booked. And if you knew what you was doing, you was gonna make a lot of money.
Mm.
So now I'm making good money. I'm making good money in the business. And I said, you know what? Let me try to purchase an apartment complex. Let me try to get creative. Oh, excuse me. Let me take this back. So 2020, So when I started making the money from 2020, I started thinking like, man, I think I should start doing an apartment complex. I don't even know how to start.
Mhm.
So what I did was with the money, I did pay a consultant to teach me the apartment complex game.
Got it.
Cause this is what changed. What changed was I met with the developer and I just randomly, he's like, oh man, oh, you're making good money. So I was like, how much do you make? Right. He was like, I'm making like 25,000 a month. But his 25,000 a month was different than my money because he was collecting free and clear $25,000 a month.
Got it.
And I'm in my business, I'm hustling, I'm grinding, I'm still working, so he's just collecting money. So I'm like, damn. And he's like, oh yeah, by this year, I'm gonna be collecting like $500,000 once I build this complex and
Mhm.
that complex. I'm like, oh crap. So I'm like, maybe I need to buy an apartment complex.
Mm.
Would you sell this? He's like, why would I sell it to you? You're paying me so much money. He's like, if you don't rent this from me, then he'll sell it. But he's not going to sell it to me
Yeah.
because I'm making him too much money. And that's when I was just like, you know what? Let me figure this out.
Mm.
So paid a father consultant. He was an underwriter. So I was paying him, I think, $5,000 over the course of a couple months to teach me on how to put together a project, how to analyze a project, how a project makes sense, preferred returns, equity, um, performers, why it wouldn't make sense. Like why, I was like, I want 20 units. He's like, well, 20 units doesn't make sense, but 30 units make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like 30 units makes sense because you spread the cost over
Yep.
this and
Of
then,
course.
you know, it's a better return and you could have more people, raise more money, the number's bigger.
Yeah.
Most people, they want it to be a certain number, especially if
Yeah.
you raise
Yeah.
the money. So I'm like, okay, paid him for that. So now I said, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna find my own deal. So this is 2021. So 2021, as everyone's making money, I'm out looking for deals. So the deal I was looking for was I was gonna get an apartment complex, right? Something undervalued. I was gonna work with the seller and I was gonna lease the complex from the seller. I was gonna do a deal with him saying, listen, I'm gonna lease the complex from you. But the money I'm making from the operation, I'm going to use this money to fix up the property,
Mhm.
but only if you sell me the property like a lease option, right? So I found one guy. I learned my lesson. I found one guy, and he was willing to work with me, but I didn't really know who he was. I'm not going to say his name. So I seen it on LoopNet. Apartment complex guy wanted like $2.6 million for this apartment complex in South Tampa. So I called him up and I was like, yo, you're making a mistake, man. You selling this place. This is a gold mine. Like, we can make money on this. And, I could probably buy it for more money, but just not right now.
Mm.
What I could do is I could lease it from you and then we'll set something out. He's like, okay, cool. Met with him. And I didn't do my research. This is before I did research. I was just winging it. Met with the guy at some restaurant. We're talking. He was telling me how he could finance me. He holds paper. I didn't understand what he was talking about. He holds paper. I'm like, what is holding paper? He said he holds paper. He buy notes. He can do all these different things. So I said, okay, sounds good. I didn't know who I was dealing with. He said, we'll start this small deal with this one complex. Come to the office, bring the check. I said, all right. Go to the office. He was a big Corvette guy. Um, Go to the office. I'm in the office and I'm just seeing a bunch of people in suits, ties, people just walking all over I got baggy shirt on,
Yeah.
earrings in, you know, I think I had like designs in my hair. I'm like, where the hell am I at? So there's like, you don't know whose office this is? I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be dropping off a check to some dude. They're like, this is so and so's office. I'm like, who the hell is that? It's like, this dude has like 180 apartments.
Mm.
Where have you been? Right? And the lady I was talking to, she was talking to me and actively bidding and buying apartment complexes online. as he's talking to me, like pressing buttons and
Yeah.
shit. And I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on? So I'm hype. I'm like, who is this dude? They're like, I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, damn, this guy's the truth. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I dropped this puny check off. Um, I get the first place. He's like, listen, this is 16. So my deal was, I'm like, man, I said, okay, I'm gonna get this apartment complex. I'm gonna pay this guy. He wanted 2.6 mil. It didn't sell because the place was only worth like maybe 2.3,
Yeah.
2.4. So everybody's like, ah. And then he wasn't serious anyway. He was just probably seeing what testing the market. So I'm like, damn, this place was shabby as hell. South Tampa, the zip code is called Golfview Villas. I'm like, man, if I get this place, boom, 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 based off of what the guy taught me, I'm like, this place should be about $4.1 million, right? Once it's all
Yep.
said and done, once I run it, how I'm supposed to run
Of
it,
course.
I was looking at how much I was going to pay him, how much rent I was going to take on it. So I'm hyped. I'm like, okay, this is going to be my first apartment complex deal. It was, I think it was 14 units, 15, 14, 15, something like that. So that's why you never count your eggs before you never supposed to count your eggs before they hatch. So now I got the first unit. We're doing the deal. Me and the developer, we're starting to fall out because my contract is ending, and he's like, I want to raise your rent like 7,000.
Mm.
You know, you've been getting off with this cheap rent. I want 8 more thousand or 7 more thousand. He was just making it up as he goes. He's like, I want this much more. If you don't want to take it, who cares? You pretty much paid off the building.
Yeah.
So he was, we was having a falling out. I was paying late, so I was paying late, or I would get to him when I got to him.
Yeah.
He didn't like that. That's part of,
Yep.
I was learning. So, but now I'm like, you know what? Screw him, because I got this other deal. I'm about to be up millions.
Yep.
So start taking over the spot. Everything's going good. We give notices to the tenants, like, hey, listen, guys, a couple months, this is going to be transferring over to so-and-so, this entity, and he's going to be running it. Boom. So our deal was, give me 1 year, turn everything over, get the revenue going. And then the second year, that's when we were going to do the seller's financing,
Got it.
right? And the money I was generating, I was going to fix it up. Within, let's say, 36 months, boom, would have got him out. So he would have ended up really getting close to, like, with me paying him that first with interest and everything, he would have ended up getting close to like 3. And the property would have been valued closer to about 4.
Got it.
So I was like, oh, I'm going to refinance. I'm going to do XYZ LTV, and I'm going to get like $1 million back on a refi. Then I'm going to turn it to regular rentals. And that was a deal that the guy I was paying for mentoring helped me, like, wrap my mind around this apartment complex stuff. So what happens is the guy calls me. So now I researched the guy. So the guy, he invests a lot, has a lot of complexes, self-made. So the guy calls me, and he calls my phone. He says, listen, you need to be able to buy this apartment complex today. I'm like, what do you mean today? I'm like, I've been leasing these units for a couple of months. We're going to transition. He's like, you didn't hear what happened? I'm like, what happened? He's like, so you're serious, dude? I'm like, what? The apartment complex gets shot up. Apartment complex gets shot up. True story. Right. So the owner's like, yo, the apartment complex got shot up. The tenants, they're definitely leaving.
Mm.
And I know we got an agreement for you to do sellers financing and all this other stuff, but we didn't. You're just on the leasing part right now. We didn't even eat the other part. So he doesn't feel warm and fuzzy about the deal. So I need to give him like all this money right now.
Crazy.
And I'm like, I can't. He's like, exactly. Boom, hangs up the phone. So I'm like, how did this place get shot up? So now what happened was I rented somebody, everything was going well. Booking was going good. I rented to somebody, they put on their Instagram, like, hey, I'm at this cool spot. You know, the girl, I guess, had a boyfriend who was beefing with her brother,
Mm,
wanted to come in. The boyfriend wanted to come in to see his girl. The brother didn't want them to come into the complex. So the boyfriend shot shot it up. They having a shootout, cars getting sprayed.
crazy.
And I'm like, this is wild. So the tenants' cars are shot up. So now they contacted me like, yo, we can't even get to work. We can't, our cars is shot up, right? You're supposed to be the new management. Like, so I'm like, what the hell's going on? So cops is, and this is a very nice area. So the whole deal blew up because of, could it have been avoided? Maybe if I didn't let them rent, but
Yeah.
it was a regular booking through booking.com.
Wow.
And, so just that, and he was already on edge because by the time I talked him into the deal, he was like, hold up, this guy's really only giving me 20 grand for a freaking 2 point something million dollar complex. He's pretty much coming up for free. So he was already kind of like
Yeah.
on the edge with it. Like, I really don't have that much skin in the game.
Mm,
Boom, lost the deal. So now I'm like, I'm depressed.
mm.
Had my parents out. I'm like, I got my first complex deal. I'm gonna finally be able to leave the grass of this other developer who's just sucking me dry now. So, so now rents raise, right? I got higher rents, and we're in 2022 now. So 2022, I'm like, I'm tired of doing the same thing. Now I'm fixated. I'm like, I need an apartment complex.
Mm.
I'm gonna go out. I'm tired of leasing. I'm gonna find a deal. Get with this this hard money lender. So I got an office. So this hard money lender had me thinking he's like, I told him what happened with the deal. And I was like, yo, listen, I'm trying to get apartment complex out there. I know how to operate apartment complex. I'm gonna try to find a deal. So the hard money lender says, listen, you find a deal, I'll lend you up to like 2.4 mil
Mm.
to get a place. So I'm like, okay. Nice. So I was like, what's required? They're like, we just need to be the first lien holder on the property. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is a second chance. So I'm like, what about the 30%? Do you care how that? He's like, it's whatever the sell price or the value price, whatever's the lower price.
Got it.
So I'm out, I'm scouring, I'm looking for deals. I'm driving around, I'm looking at different complexes I could take over and maybe beef the value. I can operate it. I'm trying to leverage my operation to get control of an apartment complex that I could purchase. I find a deal. This guy out in Miami. So they had about 20 something units, different parcels.
Mm.
So I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, I learned from the underwriter. I'm like, okay, I did the evaluation. I seen it. Everything's good. I'm like, man, this place needs some fixing up, but this place could probably bring in 50,000 a month
Mm.
revenue. I'm like, how much am I gonna pay the hard money? It's almost similar to the deal that the place that got shot up. So I'm like, well, I'll be paying a hard money lender like 19,000. I just off where it's at. I know I could bring in 50 just on the low end
Of
from
course.
low
Yeah.
end rentals, running it like a low end motel.
Yep.
These are a bunch of duplexes, 20 something units. So I called the guy. I said, listen, I don't have the 30%, but I got a guy willing to give you 2 point whatever for all of this. And then can we do something on the back end where a second, I just pay you a little something or just wait some equity or I'll pay you out once I'm up and running. I'll give you a little equity of the operation. So the guy's like, sure, give him my resume. He looks me up. He looks at what I got going on. I show him a little background stuff. Um, and what I was showing people, I was sending people my tax. I had my taxes. I would actually report the revenue. So
Mm.
my revenue was like seven figures,
Yeah.
in the M's. So I would say, look, these are my tax returns. Boom, boom, boom. I do this for real. Give me a chance. So the guy was like, you know what? I'll let you, I'll do the deal. Well, he'll be second position to the hard money loan. I bring the deal. I say, hey guys, you said you was going to lend me 2 point something. I got a deal. I'm out here. I found it. This is it right here. They're like, okay, you got to do the appraisal.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I thought you guys do the appraisals. They're like, no, for this deal, you got to do the appraisal. So I'm like, all right, call the appraisal guy. I'm thinking, I did appraisal before. I'm thinking appraisal $400-500. This guy's like, yo, appraisal 16,000 because there's multiple duplexes
Crazy.
on this lot, and we got to do every
Wow.
single. So I think the appraisal's like 12 grand. So I call the lender. I'm like, listen, they're gonna charge me like $12 or $16,000. I want to make sure if I pay this, you
Absolutely.
guys.
Absolutely.
Oh, they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So they want us to see that I had a couple of month of payments in my account. Show them my account. Scheduled a meeting with the appraiser. The guy calls me and says, listen, we see what you're doing. We see that you got apartment complexes. Because most of the stuff that I had, honestly, I didn't have stuff in nice areas.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually always get crappy stuff that I would have to make nice. So I
Yeah.
didn't get houses by the beach. I didn't get apartment complexes in the best areas. I literally had an apartment complex running as a hotel in a hood.
Yeah.
It was a nice complex, but so I really built up how to run and operate hood properties.
Got it.
But these hood properties or the not nice areas had high ROIs.
Of course. Of course.
So what I was trying to express to the lender, like, yo, even though the area is crazy, this has a high ROI potential. So
Yeah.
the lender said, you know what? I know we said we would do the deal, but we don't like the area.
Mm.
And if you can't operate this place, we're going to have to take this apartment complex back. And we don't want to take this complex back in this area.
Yeah.
So they're like, we want something in South Tampa.
Mm.
And I had something in South Tampa, but it just got shot up. Right. So the really nice place gets shot up. Well, that was actually the worst complex in one of the nicest areas in Tampa.
Mm-mm.
So that got shot up. And then this was a nice complex, decent, but in one of the worst parts of Tampa.
Yeah.
So they was just like, nah, they didn't want to do the deal. So now I'm like, I need to find something. I need to get an apartment complex. I was just fixated on it. So I said, what I'm gonna do is somebody said, hey, can we lease a unit from you? I'm like, you want to lease a unit from me? I'm like, why would you want to lease a unit from me? You could just go lease a unit from somebody else and
Yeah.
make money. I had a lot of wear and tear on the stuff that I had because I've been running it for so long. I didn't revamp it. The market is becoming a little bit more competitive. Not a little bit, a lot more competitive. So I said, okay, I got nothing to lose. I started letting people sublease the locations I had, but what they would do is they would take the place and make it nicer.
Mm.
So I'm making less money, but I got a better product to
Yep.
market. So I'm like, okay, cool. So somebody was like, can we lease a unit from you? And, so I did that with a couple of people. And I started seeing how nice everything was. So I'm like, you know what? This place is so nice. Even though I'm making less money, let me see if I could get investors and developers.
Got it.
So I'm making less money now, but I got more eyes on it. The
Yeah.
product is looking nice. So the buildings are looking good. Properties are looking nice. So I would bring developers like, hey, come to the building. I would call them up like, oh, you got this building? Hey, I got this other building I'm leasing. I got this property, that property. Let me show you my operation. I'm trying to get a building. So now 2022, I meet this one guy and through the grapevine, my boy, he rented another place. It's very competitive now, the market, the Airbnb market. You got to be on multiple platforms.
Yep.
See, I got a website, I got a name. I got connections. I got companies calling me. So I can lease out places. I got places that's leasing right now that's not on nothing. This is call-ins,
Yep.
people. You just know. So I'll get it where they say, yo, this guy has a complex, but he doesn't like the business. He's going out of business. So I'm like, going out of business. I'm like, where's the complex at? He's like, yo, I just rented it. It's like it's 6 units. And I told him about you, that you got other complexes that you're leasing and running as hotels and stuff like that. Maybe you'll be interested in taking it over. I said,
Mhm.
yeah, sure. I'm like, I'll take it over. Let me I take a look. I'm looking at the place. I'm like, what? I made money in my sleep with this
Mhm.
place. This is easy. This is actually in a nice or a decent area. It's not
Yep.
too bad. It's easy to maintain. So I met with the owner and I told the well, so when I met the owner, I said, I'm not gonna mess up like how I messed up before with the previous deal where I didn't do my research on who I was dealing with.
Mm.
So when I met with this new owner, I looked him up. I'm like, oh man, this is a big guy. Right. So let me come correct. I did my research on him. I'm like, whoa, he got this, and this, and this, and this. A lot of real estate, big money guy. So let me come correct. I said, hey, can you meet me at my office? Oh, I'm not interested. I get these calls all the time. Boom, hangs up. Call him again. I'm like, hey, listen, yeah, the guy that is I know a guy, he has a complex with you already. He's thinking about getting out the business. Um, I have similar complexes that I'm operating and running, and I could be a potential buyer.
Mhm.
So if we could just have lunch and just talk, he says, okay, boom. I have him come to my complex that I'm leasing. And he's like, oh, this is nice. How much you paying here? I'm like, I'm paying this. I'm paying that. He's like, what? He's like, I can sell you this. I can sell you that. And he's like, wow, let's sit down. So he's like, what's your goals? What you trying to do? I said, well, I said, it'll be nice to scale to 100 units
Mhm.
because it's just the goals has changed. I've been leasing. I feel like I mastered the leasing. I
Yeah.
mastered it. I know how to work on apartment complexes. So I know how to run them, operate them, lease them up, put names on them,
Yeah.
put them on sites. So comes to my office and I tell him, I say, hey, I just pretty much just outline, hey, listen, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I want to scale to 100 units. He's like, really? He's like, wow, like I'm actually developing 100 units. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. So, what's your plans? You trying to buy 100 units? I'm like, well, I'm trying to work up to 100 units. He's like, well, I'm trying to build 100 units to sell. I'm like, really? I'm like, wow. So,
Mm.
then he's like, matter of fact, let me show you. So he's like, listen, I could build this. You could buy that. I could work with you on this. So he gave me a bunch of options. So the first thing I did, I said, okay. I said, what was the issues I had with the first developer? Um, the first developer I was winging it. So the issues I had wasn't paying on time.
Mhm.
When I said, hey, I would have 20 grand, I'm blowing more. I don't got it right now. I wouldn't even communicate with him. I'll just put in his account to the point where he got frustrated and just stopped even
Of course.
messaging me.
Yeah.
So we had that bad relationship where wasn't getting him the money on time too. Um, so with this guy, I said all the issues I had with all the previous relationships, I was going to make sure this one was perfect. I learned from those mistakes. So first, he's like, listen, I got this one complex I'm gonna test you out with. We could do a lease option on it, and this is the price we'll do it on. I'm like, what's a lease option?
Mhm.
A lease option is pretty much saying, listen, I'm gonna sell you, you're gonna lock up this apartment complex for X amount of time, and only you have the option to buy it at this price.
Got it.
Can't sell it to nobody else. So I'm kind of securing my a position. So
Yeah.
if I get it, I'm operating and everything is well, and the value raises. Hey, can I execute my option or I'm good on that. I'll just keep leasing it. But if he wants to sell it to somebody else, he can if we're outside the option.
Of course.
So that's kind of how I was changing my thinking a little bit. where certain stuff I know is going to make money on, I was going to put a lease option on so I could eventually take the developer out. The first complex, I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking, I'm going to lease this property, boom. What I ended up doing is leasing the property, paying the property off. Property only cost 1.2 million to develop. I pretty much damn near paid the developer 1.2 million dollars. When the value skyrocketed, it was like, okay, thank you, see you. Because I didn't negotiate
Of
any
course,
lease
yeah.
options, I didn't negotiate any equity, I didn't put any long extensions on it. I was really on a month to month
Mhm,
with it
mhm.
so that's good business on his part. That wasn't necessarily the best business on my part, but you can see I paid $1 million for education because I got good
Oh,
education from
yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
So now me with the guy, I sit down and I outline my goals with him as far as where we want to take the company, and that's the partnership that I have going on now.
Mhm.
So you know the building, right? We did a deal, and it's like, okay, listen, I'm going to be going to operate this building, and the cool thing is I'm doing this for multiple people
Mhm.
where I'm meeting developers and I'm catching them in the middle of the process and I'm having them change their plans
Mm,
and specifically tailor it for my application
got it.
because they're looking at me as, wow, this is the tenant that I want. And I'm putting my tenant in position to purchase the
Of course.
property. And,
Yeah. So
you
it's a
know,
win-win across the board, yeah.
it's win-win. So
Yeah.
when we met, he already had in his mind he was going to build 100 units to sell.
Mhm.
When I met him, I already had in my mind I wanted to expand to 100 units, but some of these complexes purchased them.
Mhm.
So that's how the business has evolved.
Yeah, got it.
Now, with these complexes.
Mhm, mhm.
So yeah, so pretty much getting control of the complex, putting a lease option on it to purchase, operating them, and then using the profits from the operation to actually go through with the purchase.
Makes sense. Yeah. Wow. Nah, I'm genius. It's crazy, man. Like just hearing the whole journey. I I mean, I legit feel like this could be a whole case study on entrepreneurship 101. Like there's just so much depth and substance on the whole process, and more than anything, the mindset, right? Like the resourcefulness, the creativity, the your back is against the wall, like, let me figure this out. And if there's any piece of advice that you probably would have given yourself before you even started this whole entrepreneurial journey, like you've been through a lot of storms, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of cycles. It's been many years now. And if there was any piece of advice that you would give, like what if you can go to yourself before the e-cig, e-commerce stuff, right? And you could just give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
So the piece of advice would be don't focus too much on the money, but more of a passion, really.
Mm.
So when like this year, right? I stopped focusing even with the new building. I don't really sit back. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to the new build. Before I used to be like, oh, if I get this, I'm gonna make this money. Now it's more of just it's a passion, like, oh, let me take it to the next level.
Mm.
Right. So when I actually think about it, I'm like, oh, I gotta pay for this $4 million building. I gotta pay for these 2 million, $2 million worth in houses. When I think about it like that, it's it's um it's scary. But when I just think, oh, it's just another project, it's just a hurdle, because I like doing it. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like work. I'm not really focused on how much money I'm gonna make from it. I know, okay, it's gonna be good money, but I'm not just chasing the money now.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's just having a passion for what I do. Um, I like challenging, and challenging myself, and also providing. Um, also providing a service. You're providing experiences.
Most definitely.
The good thing about when I started making less money right? We had customer service go up, and then I had more people who wanted to invest with me.
Mhm, mhm.
So before I was thinking about the money, when I was just thinking about the money, I had bad guests,
Yep.
risky guests,
Mm.
uh, high maintenance costs on the property. I was making more money, but you know, people weren't necessarily interested in investing in that.
Yeah,
You
of
know,
course.
so not focus too much on the money and just more,
Definitely.
So that was it. What I would tell myself.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of just really getting more involved with the passion side of things. I love the quote that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And
Yes,
I know you covered a lot of different mistakes along the way, and this kind of segues into that. Like, if you could have done anything different, like, yeah, this is a kind of a tough one because everything that you've done, all the mistakes that you've made have obviously led to where you are today. So it's more of a learning lesson than it was a failure or anything like that. But if there's anything that you would have done different, what would you say that that would be?
different. Well, definitely, I counted my eggs before they hatched.
Mm,
Right. So even when I was getting ready to do that first apartment complex deal, in my mind, I was like, I'm up.
yeah.
So the money I was making, I kind of reverted back to like, oh, I could spend all the money in my account because I got this apartment complex deal. And then
Yeah.
within whatever amount of time, I'm gonna refinance, I'm gonna get a mill in so don't count your eggs before they hatch.
Hmm.
Now I'm humble.
Yeah.
To this day, I'm humble. So I don't look at things, I look at things like I'm just humble with everything because I had so many ups and downs.
Yeah. Most
So
definitely.
I could be up crazy right now. I'm gonna still be chill.
Yeah.
I'm
Most
gonna
definitely.
still be chill. Um, people I'm doing deals with, they're up 20 M's, if not more.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're humble.
Yeah.
They're on some, and
Yep.
I know that term humble is it's
It's thrown out loosely.
like I seen somebody posted online. It was like, oh, Warren Buffett, this and the average person is not gonna be on a Warren Buffett level.
Of course.
You got different cultures, especially our culture. We like to be flashy or so you can be yourself, but it's just that's one of the things that was my issue. Every time I was even with the e-cig, went out, bought some.
Yep. Yep.
Now my mindset is like, shit, I could be up something crazy, but I don't think I would be comfortable with the crazy expenses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
to, keep the expenses where it's like
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
nothing.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Like my actual personal expenses relative to my income is like
Yep. Same here.
so tiny.
Mhm.
Before it was like make more money,
Yep.
get
Yep.
more stuff, get
Yeah.
more stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's what can I get that's gonna make,
Of
more
course. Of
money
course.
in.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you live and you learn. And on the topic of our culture, right? You're obviously a brother, and you're navigating in a world where you're the minority,
Yes.
like in a major way. And would you say that that had any effect on, like, what was your mindset like, just navigating in this territory? And like, did you feel any sense of inferiority, or just maybe a little bit nervous, right, going into these deals? Or I know for me, like, I always felt sort of like an outsider, or if I wouldn't be accepted just based on my background or whatever. But how did that work for you? Like, what was the mindset going in? Was there ever that part of you like, damn, they're probably not gonna wanna do a deal because 'cause I'm a brother or something like
Well,
that?
I felt like that with the first deal I did on the first apartment complex.
Yeah.
I kind of felt, well, I kind of had to see the first developer I worked with. He was very harsh on me, but he said things. He was like a tough, very tough. You better do it this way. If you don't do it this way, nobody will never want to do business with you. The people I do business with you would never do this. They would, you know, and even to recently it was like, you need to hire people that look like this,
Mm.
right? I'm like, look like what? Right? I was hiring people that look like me.
Yeah.
You need to hire people that look like this.
Mm.
So I mean, I'm like, he had a different approach. He had a different approach, right? His family's up. He's up. Boats, houses, mansions. It's different mind. So with him, yes, I felt like, it was interesting. Even certain bankers, I'm like, yo, hey, this one banker, he's up something crazy. Can you put me on with him? Can we? I'm the guy who's actually running this complex, who's giving you these checks,
Mhm.
right? You're taking that and you're telling people, yo, I got these complexes that's making X, Y, Z, but you're not letting people know I'm the guy who's doing it,
Mm.
right? So you doing deals based off of,
Yeah.
so like, yo, you said you was gonna put me on with that banker, you know? So, but that's just one type of person.
Yep.
Then I got around somebody totally different who was up crazier than him. When I say up, like net worth crazy, and they had a different mindset.
Mm.
They're a different culture than,
Yeah.
you know, in his culture, they want to control everything,
Yep.
right? So he's Indian. They have a lot of those type of people. They own hotels,
Mhm. Mhm.
so they have like a large market share, especially
Yeah.
on the motel stuff, the lower end price points.
Mhm.
That culture, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Hotels, motels, that's their business, that's their industry.
Yeah.
Um, then I did business with another with a brother who he actually this one guy that I did business with here in Tampa.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say his name, but he actually raised my income
Mm.
like 60,000
Mm.
a year. So when I used to ask these owners, hey, can I lease a property from you or apartment or something, I wouldn't get good property. I would get the stuff that can't rent. That's
Yep.
why I had some called House in the Hood.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this isn't I'll give you that.
Mm.
Take this. So I'm taking all the worst stuff and I'm making money off of it.
Mhm.
You know, um, I was working with him and it was like, yo, he gave me some stuff and he's like, yo, so what you making? I say, I'm bringing in like, you charge me 1,400 a month. I'm bringing in 6,000. Then he gave me some other stuff. He's like, oh man, okay, you doing good with that. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking I could speak freely, like yo, because I'm thinking you up crazy.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm I'm making this. He's like, oh man, hey, I'm gonna raise your
Mm.
50%.
Yeah.
I'm like, how you just gonna raise me 50%? I'm
Mhm.
like, bro, I thought we was
Yeah.
I'm praising you. You raised my income 60. So, that was one. So I've dealt with all different spectrums
Of
of
course. Of course.
people. And I don't take anything personal. I just take it as a learning.
Yeah. 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 No, that's good, man. That's really good. What would you say is your biggest motivation today? Like what really drives you? What drives the hustle? What gets you up every single day? Like you could probably just chill. Like right now, for example, we're at one of your properties, and this is beautiful. It's a really nice setup,
Thank
and
you.
as you guys can see here in the production, and like you could very well just be comfortable and live off of what you've already built. But like, what gets you going every single day? Where it's like, I want more. I want to expand. I want to get to the next level.
Well, it's not necessarily I want more. It's the people I'm around, right? So even the new building that's coming, right? That new building that's coming, right? That's a $4 million building, 16 years, really 4.3 with the duplex on the side. So I was sitting with the developer. I'm like, man, I'm there with him, right? I got to start getting furniture, start getting that whole project ready at some point, right? Let's say 24 months from that. If everything goes well, I'll close on that property. It'll be mine.
Yep.
But in his mind, I'm like, I asked him, I'm like, so what, like this, we're coming to an end with this. So are you excited? He's like, no, I'm just you're going to have this place and I'm going to move on to the next thing. And then if you want, you'll have this and that. we're just going to continue doing our projects until we don't want to do the projects no more. So now I guess is what drives me really is the challenge. And then I don't, before we used to motivate me was material.
Mm.
Oh man, as soon as I start getting this, I'm gonna go buy this car. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
buy that car.
Yeah.
Now what motivates me is accomplishing the task at hand,
Mhm.
right? So that's what accomplishing the task at hand, and you know, being able to provide for my kids, and give them the stuff that I used to want. I kind of had a little bit of it
Mhm.
from part of my family, but letting them grow up in a house with the pool,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I used to take my kids to school in sports car. All the kids, he was a popular kid. They all, oh, you
Nice.
cool
Nice.
dad or whatever. So I thought that was so really it's the challenge, just challenging myself.
Yeah.
That's what motivates me.
Yeah. No, I like that, man. So we've covered a lot of ground from just the whole journey, like a lot of lessons along the way, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. And you can say something there?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
missed one part
Mhm.
too. What I'm actually liking now too is that I like putting people on.
Mm. Yeah.
That's what I meant
It's
to.
big.
So
That's big.
I didn't talk about it, but throughout this journey, I had multiple people that I say, yo, listen, I'm gonna put you on. I'm talking about people that came, signed up for cleaning. I'm like, yo, you ain't a cleaner.
Mhm.
Go, this is what you do. You're gonna take the money I'm giving you,
Yeah.
go get a unit, go get this, do that, just like this.
Love it.
You could be right with me making this money. So that's what I like too. I like putting people on.
I think that's the highest level, if you ask me. Like it's about paying it forward,
Yeah.
and that's where the most reward, like the most rewarding part, really comes from that. Like I remember hearing a mentor of mine. He would always say that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, and
Yeah.
the only way to truly feel fulfilled is if you're growing and giving. And in your business is dope because you could very well just, from all your knowledge, all your experience, all your connections, all your resources, you can go and now pay it forward to the next generation of people on the come up, like really wanting to scale up their wealth and everything and change their lives. So I think it's a beautiful thing. And that leads me to the very, as we bring it in for a landing here, some of the last questions that I wanted to ask you was, what's next? What's next for Cure? Like you've done all this crazy, all these crazy different projects, all this amazing experience, but you're a relatively young dude. You got a lot of life to live. And you've kind of alluded a little bit on like what's next in terms of like the next development and everything. But what would you say is the big vision, right? Like where do you see yourself at 50 years old?
50. Okay. So I don't go too far as 50.
Okay.
Right now, what I see, well, here in Tampa Bay, I want to, as far as my company, I want to be the premier. When I say premier, meaning leveraging my operation, I get control of as many apartment complexes as I can here in this area.
Mm.
And not just regular apartment complexes. I'm talking about unique
Yeah.
stuff. Like we have something called the water tower,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It's 30 units. They're working on it now. I said, when is it going to be available? They said, man, this is a 4-year project.
Mm.
They in it 2 years. They might be in another 2 years. So in 2 years, I want them to be like, you know what? I remember I was talking with so and so, right, who has XYZ apartments already. Maybe we should contact him or his company to operate this as a boutique hotel versus a regular apartment complex. So that's one thing. I want to set my company up as the premier boutique hotel operator here in Tampa.
Mm.
That's first and foremost. Because a lot of people say it's the real estate, but we're I'm purchasing the real estate based off the money I'm making from the operation, from
Yep.
the business.
Got it.
So when I say, okay, I got a 36-month plan, right? So my 36-month plan, I say, okay, um, within 36 months, hopefully XYZ investors are paid out. They can reinvest. we've doubled the properties we have under management, right? The mentor I'm working with, he's like, listen, you should, once you close on what you need to close on for the year, now you should try to get on my regimen, close on it every 6 months,
Mm.
right? Um, try to double what you make every year. Try to double the amount of people you put on every year. That's how he talks.
Mhm.
Okay, this year I want to make 7 mil. I'm gonna make 2 mil on this project with you. I'm gonna make 800,000 on that project. Next year, I'm gonna try to do a 3 mil project.
Mhm.
So when I'm 50, I'm not sure what
Yeah,
that looks like.
of
But
course.
as far as 40, you know, a nice company, at least 100 units,
Mhm.
that were operating as not just regular apartments, at
Yep.
least some nice buildings with some nice names.
Mhm.
I do like that lodging uh business. And the good thing about the lodging business is it's money every day
Of course,
because
yeah.
people are booking every day.
Yeah.
Unlike traditional leases,
Yep.
people pay once a month
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you got to
yeah.
do eviction.
Yeah.
So 40, I would say, more, you got a strong team. People in my team there, I ask them all the time, hey, you're making, 4,000 a month right now. What's your expenses? What's your plans? Do you plan on buying something and
Mhm.
plan on structuring something up
Yeah.
where, because corporate, you got 401k and stuff like that.
Mhm, mhm.
My 401k is the apartment complexes.
That's
That's
right,
the,
yeah. Yeah.
I know I could probably get to a point where I'm more diversified,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
so that's why I say 40.
Yeah.
50 years old, I mean, who knows
Yeah.
50, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know some 50-year-old guys, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Basically, just the way I look at it is just doing what because you're already passionate about what you do, like just doing what you're doing on a much bigger scale,
Yeah.
right? And again, as we start to close out here, I wanted to ask you, like, you already got a lot of years as a self-made man, as an entrepreneur. You've been out of the workforce for a couple years now, of course, and
10 years.
10 years. Same here, right? About 10 years. And what would you say you love the most about being an entrepreneur? Because a lot of our audience, they're watching this, they're probably aspiring entrepreneurs, and they kind of want to go and take that leap of faith and take a chance on themselves. And like, what do you like the most about being an entrepreneur? As scary as it is all the headaches and all the storms you had to endure, the winter seasons, all of that. Like, what really makes it worth it?
Time, having my time. So
Mm.
like even my first son, I would pick him up from take him to school, pick him up, take him on to his programs. Um, I'm real disciplined as far as waking up. You got to be a self starter. But some days I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just watch
Oh, yeah.
TV all day,
Yeah.
or I don't feel like answering my phone. Like I pretty much been do what I want to do,
Yeah.
and I can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
I could be anywhere, just making a call.
Definitely.
So it's really the time aspect, having the time and time. And it honestly, it feels good. This is what feels good about being an entrepreneur is when you got your bills are paid,
Mm.
you got money coming in, you're working on getting to the next level. So like for me, I used to have a term called locked in,
Mm.
where it's like, oh man, once I get this, I'm gonna be locked in. A lock I call it locked in is like an investment to where it's like worst case scenario,
Mm.
you locked in.
Yeah.
And that could be, apartment complex that you got in worst case scenario, if you even at the lowest of the lowest rent, you're making 5,000 a month, but
Yeah.
your bills are only, let's say 4,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like worst case scenario, you locked in, you got your main expenses covered, you can figure something out.
Oh, yeah.
So the best part of entrepreneurship is the time.
Nice.
And I think a lot of people would say that. Now having the time and the money, I think that's a blessing. If you got time and money,
Oh, yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the more money, and you got time. Now you could take better trips,
That's the pinnacle.
hire more
Yeah,
people.
yeah, most
Um,
definitely. Yeah, no, that's the peak. I remember the mentor of mine, he says that true success is the ability to do what you want, when you want, how you want, for as long as you want. And I would agree with that. And that's pretty much time and financial freedom. So, man, there's so much value here at Cure. And I really appreciate you welcoming us to, one of your properties to really chop it up with you. And I mean, we can go for hours just talking about all the intricate details of you being an operator, you being an entrepreneur, you even being a father and all that stuff. But I think that another episode is inevitable, right?
okay,
And I look forward to the follow up, right? Like what
okay,
some of these deals end up being and how you progress. And I have a really good feeling that you're gonna go on to do some really big shit in the world and you already are, so but all in all, brother, where can our audience find you? If you have some people who are aspiring entrepreneurs, maybe they want to get into your line of work, maybe they want to even potentially invest with you or just collaborate with you on some things, where can they find you?
right now they can find me on Instagram, Cure, CUIR underscore. And I actually have a couple of programs where, we could help you set up your LLC,
Nice.
right? I got a lot of units. Maybe you could get a unit with me.
Hmm.
The unit that you're getting with me that's generating revenue, will show you how you could funnel that revenue through your bank account and
Nice.
leverage that to
Nice.
get
Nice.
funded or working capital
Hmm.
loans to expand in the business or maybe invest in something else that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So you can follow me on Instagram and we'll be rolling that program out shortly.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm so happy that we were able to get you on and make sure you hit up Cure for any of your just even if you just need some advice, if you need some knowledge. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge. He's an open book and I'm sure you guys can get a tremendous amount of value just reaching out and collaborating to a certain extent. So bro, thank you so much, man. It's been an honor. I
No
mean, we
problem.
probably have been going for damn near, around 3 hours,
Yeah.
but it was just a lot of value. And I'm so happy that the world truly got to see what your journey is about.
Okay.
And again, you're really, really young. So we got a lot of years, 10 years from now, you can only imagine what this conversation is going to be like. So, we got the rest of the day. Let's have some fun. We got my brother Trey, first class behind the camera. So we're going to go and have a good time right now. And I
All right.
appreciate you, brother. Looking forward to the next one.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks again for tuning into this episode. It would mean the world to me if you can follow, subscribe, share, or even leave a review. I look forward to putting out more content, and we'll see you on another episode.